today's episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to talk about quarterback U in the Carolinas. That's right, North Carolina State Wolfpack. Hey YouTube friends and family, if you're not a subscriber to the Carolina Sports Guy, please do so. It doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is go down there, punch that subscribe button, be made more aware of more content like on today's video. Also, hit the bell notification so you can be notified when future videos of the Carolina Sports Guy comes out. Give me the big pound up big like button. Let me know that you like today's content. By all means, leave comments. Let me know what you'd like to see in upcoming and future episodes of the Carolina Sports Guy. Okay, YouTube friends and family, we're going to talk about quarterback U, which I believe would be NC State. Now, probably I'll do a video later on when it comes to college football. Clemson is definitely the powerhouse school in the Carolinas because they've won the national championships. I know the Tar Heels have always recruited well. East Carolina's always prominent themselves as a football school, even though it's smaller. But NC State had won in 2 national basketball championships in '74 and '83. They're more the one football school in North Carolina that probably hangs their hat on football more than the others. And there's 7 prominent, the Magnificent 7, and I call them this because they had kind of niched out a career in the NFL, even if it's a short-lived career. Give NC State this nod, and talking to some people who are NC State fans, because I'm not, but I don't dislike NC State, but they've told me that the NC State Wolfpack has some great recruits coming in, and they've recruited all over the country. They are a quarterback school. And the first quarterback of the Great 7 we'll talk about is 1959 to 1961 at NC State, Roman Gabriel. Roman Gabriel definitely was a great quarterback, and at the time they didn't list quarterbacks. He didn't throw a lot. Going into the early 60s, they listed him as fullbacks, but he was the 2nd overall pick of the LA Rams. I believe he was the 1st overall pick in 1962 in the AFL. But he played for the Rams for 10 years from 1962 to 1972. And then he would finish his illustrious career with the Philadelphia Eagles as a downside of his career from 1973 to 1977. About time Dick Vermeil gets there and turns that franchise around. But Roman Gabriel, he was definitely a player, great quarterback. He kind of put NC State on the map when it comes to quarterbacks. Second would be 1985-1986, Eric Kramer. Eric Kramer was a pretty competent quarterback. He did go undrafted, but he was the starting quarterback for NC State for 23 games. I believe he was on the practice squad for New Orleans in '87, Atlanta in '87, but when he finally got a chance to play, he got the Detroit Lions in 1991, and he played there to 1993. I believe he was very prominent in a playoff win that Detroit had over Dallas. The great Barry Sanders, Eric Kramer was the quarterback then. Then he moves on to the division rival Chicago Bears, and he stayed there from '94 to '98. And then he finished his career with the San Diego Chargers in 1999. Then we move on to probably the most prominent quarterback. I'd say there's 2, but the most prominent, recognizable quarterback because of longevity. And that's Philip Rivers. And he was the most ballyhooed quarterback that played at NC State because he started 51 games at State. He was there from 2000 to 2003. His dad was a great high school coach in Alabama and thinking he'd stay in State, but he goes to NC State. He was round number 1 pick in 2003 or 2004, the San Diego Chargers. And he played for the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers from 2004 to 2019. Never had a lot of playoff success, but he shattered a lot of records and numbers. And then, of course, he just finished his last season here, the final season of his career, playing for the Indianapolis Colts. He got them in the playoffs, although they didn't win. But he had an illustrious career playing. Philip Rivers, great, could be a Hall of Fame quarterback if he had actually won some playoff games. Not saying he won't be. Then we get to one who definitely is a playoff quarterback, Russell Wilson, who played for NC State from 2007 to 2010. 36 games played for NC State. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, we've got to remember, when we look at Russell Wilson's stats, he finished his senior year at Wisconsin. Doesn't say he was drafted from NC State, and I believe it was Tom O'Brien was the head coach, if I'm not mistaken, in NC State, that wanted Russell Wilson to play only football at NC State his senior year. Russell Wilson wanted to play baseball. And it was kind of got bitter. He goes to Wisconsin, who didn't have baseball, and he ended up playing right away for Wisconsin. And, of course, like I said, it had a lot to do with the next guy on the list. Mike Glennon was in the waiting wings, but Russell Wilson ends up going to playing for the Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, he's drafted in 2010 in the third round by Seattle. Won a Super Bowl against Denver with Seattle. Ended up losing one against New England in next year. Played several playoff games. Great quarterback. Played in a lot of Pro Bowls. And like I said, his career still going strong for the Seattle Seahawks. Then we get to Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon played for NC State in the waiting wings behind Russell Wilson 2011-2012, and that's why he was kind of pushed out. Played 26 games for NC State. He was a third-round pick by Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers, and he played for them from 2013 to 2016. Didn't get a lot of starts, but did get some. Moved on to play for Chicago as a journeyman in 2017. Played for the Arizona Cardinals in 2018. Played for Oakland in 2019. Goes to Jacksonville 2020. Like I said, he's mainly been a journeyman, come in when people get hurt. He actually had a couple decent games from Jacksonville last year, although the record doesn't show it. And now in 2021, he's signed to be a backup for the New York Giants. Then we get to Jacoby Brissett, who's the man who took Glennon's place. He played 26 starts for NC State from 2014 to 2015. He was a third-round pick by the New England Patriots. Now, after about a year or so, New England trades his rights to the Colts. And he played for the Colts from 2017 to 2020. And then, currently, after being back up to Phillip Rivers at Indianapolis, he's moving on this year to be a backup for the Miami Dolphins in 2021. Pretty good career. I mean, he's a good journeyman, good guy. He's had a few starts in NFL. He's just pretty solid. I could bring up Jacoby Myers, who came into NC State as a quarterback, switched to receiver, who's playing wide receiver for New England right now. He had a pretty good high school career at quarterback and came into NC State as a quarterback before being shifted to a different position. And finally, these great group of seven I'll talk about is Ryan Finley. 39 starts at NC State, 2016 to 2018. He was a fourth-round draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals in 2019. Unfortunately for him, following under the wings of the Red Rifle at Cincinnati, never really got a chance to showcase his talent. And in, of course, 2020, when the Bengals ended up with the first pick in the draft, and then they take the young kid from LSU, not a chance for Ryan Finley to really assert himself. And he moved on and signed with Houston in the offseason this year. And before we can even get through the season, and even get to start the season, he's already been cut just a few weeks ago by Houston. And I guess he'll be looking for a new team here in 2021. So that's how we're looking at for NC State. Probably the one quarterback U. We look at Miami, Florida as linebacker U. It used to be Penn State as linebacker U. And many different schools have been looked at for different positions. But in the ACC in this region, quarterback U is definitely the NC State Wolfpack. How'd you think of today's episode, folks? Give me the big thumbs up. Leave some comments. Tell me what other episodes you'd like to see on the Carolina Sports Guy. By all means, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And hit that bell notification to be notified of future content. And we'll see you next time on another episode of the Carolina Sports Guy.